Cache-maniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Welcome to GeoGearHeads episode 221. This is going to be our, believe it or not, our 44th Randomize show. We've done 44 of these Randomize shows. Wow.
That's XLIV in Roman numerals.
So this is our dead show?
Yes, XLIV, yes.
Well, I guess if you're listening to the audio version of this, or even watching the YouTube version after, it could be dead. Maybe.
I heard podcasting was dead years ago, so I don't know what we're doing here.
It was dead years ago. It still is dead, but it was dead.
Making a comeback.
It's making a comeback. So if you don't recognize us, this is Daryl W4 over here for Chris, the bad cop.
Hello.
There you go. And then we have our special guest this week, Michael Miller of the Cache and Release Show.
Hey, guys.
Thank you for joining us. But this is a little different from our regular shows in that we have a whole bunch of smaller topics that we're going to talk about, which is one of the things that makes this a lot of fun.
You know, Daryl, I really do love the randomized format. So it gives us a chance to talk about things that, aren't enough to fit into a full show, but, they're things that we want to talk about anyway or we just like.
Well, and some of it is some great feedback like Michael posted on YouTube. Not that Michael, different Michael.
I was like, what?
Oh, by the way, you posted things on YouTube. You didn't know that?
Must be doing these in my sleep.
Who needs bots when you have sleepwalking?
Exactly.
Or sleep typing?
Well, it might not have been this Michael, but a Michael on YouTube posted a comment on show 221, which was just last week.
Well, 220. This is 221.
I'm sorry, 220. This is 221. Doing math in my head again. I shouldn't be doing math on a live podcast. Okay. He said, FYI, Looking for Cache Pro and free, both of those apps, offers multiple profile logging. Now, last week we came up with the question we asked, is there an app that will allow you to log a cache for multiple accounts? If you're out caching with someone, can you just put one login? And Michael goes on to say, each profile can have unique logs. You can also log your trackables and upload different photos from or for each profile. So there you go, Looking for Cache.
Yeah, that's a really great feature. I'm glad to know that it actually does do the unique logs. The only catch would be that you have to be logged in through the app to each of those accounts. So if you're caching with a bunch of buddies, what I like to do is send them the what's it called? The field notes file.
Yeah.
That fieldnotes.txt, so that they have that and can log it from their own account, and then I don't have to have it logged in on the phone or anything. So there's definitely there's definitely a bunch of different ways to do it, and definitely some good options. But especially for the families.
Mm-hmm.
That is perfect, and that's exactly what this is really built for. Is when you're out with the family, one person can handle logging for everyone.
Right, or if you're out doing a power trail, with a group of buddies, you're all in one car, you can hand that device to whoever the logger is for that turn, and let them log. And
sure, well, and it works on iPads, so it's a great device to have in the car with you. Have that designated logger going through and doing the logging with one of the Bluetooth keyboards, and strap the iPad to the back of the seat in front of them or whatever,
There, you need a motorhome. Pull up
There
to
you
the table, have a desk. Yeah.
You really do for something like that. If you're going to have a designated logger, you definitely need to have a motorhome with it. It makes sense.
Where else are you going to put all the tools to chop down the trees?
Exactly.
By
Wait, why
the
are you
way,
chopping down trees?
Shermanator18 says, "Yay, Michael is here. I take it he's feeling better."
I am feeling I got my voice back, so yeah, and I was a little worried on Sunday because I had to drop out on the last show, and I felt bad telling Daryl I cannot make it, and I thought, not again. The guy's never going to have me. These two are going to be like, never, never.
So you only do your show, and you're not going to be able to do our show anymore, huh?
Well, if you saw the last show, I ran the soundboard. I said nothing through the entire show. Gary carried the whole thing. I was just the soundboard guy for that one.
Oh, no.
Resting my voice for you guys, so just know that.
Well, and Michael, the reason we're having you back is because the check did clear. So.
Oh, good. Whew. I was a little worried.
Well, you want to tell us about the Geocaching International Film Festival?
Yeah, I think I'm a little late to the party. I just actually saw this today, but I'm very excited about this. The Geocaching International Film Festival is returning for 2016. You can go out to the Geocaching Film Festival website. The dates, here's some things to know. August 1st, submission deadline. September 1st, finalist announced. And November 3rd through 7th, films are screened worldwide. Here's some kind of guidelines. Films need to be about 1 to 4 minutes long, family friendly. I think this other one's kind of a given, but about geocaching. But okay, sure. Yeah,
There goes
okay.
my idea.
Yeah. Subtitled in English, if not an English language is spoken. And so for the awards, 16 finalists will be chosen to screen at the worldwide, I'm just going to say it, GIFF events. Say it however you want to. GIFF events. And they're going to receive a 1-year premium membership. One finalist will receive the Signal Award and a 5-year premium membership.
Wow.
I think that's fantastic. A 5-year premium membership, Signal Award. I was just telling Chris before the show, I think I'm going to throw my hat into the ring and try to come up with something.
Sure. Yeah.
I've never done it before. I was watching some of the previous finalists, and I will say it here on air, Joshua Johnson inspired me with his 2013 video, and I thought, I want to do something. So anyways, let me get back to this. I've just sidelined you guys. You can submit through the website. Upload your geocaching film to Vimeo or Vimeo, however you pronounce it. Vimeo. Fill out a submission form, and the 2016 Geocaching International Film Festival will be held at Worldwide Geocaching Events November 3rd through the 7th. This is your opportunity to screen the 16 finalist films for your local geocaching community, and you will be able to submit, publish, and register your official GIFF geocaching event this August.
Yeah, now this is great because I really like the way they handled this last year with putting out the GIF events all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we talked about it on like so many different shows. It's hard to remember who did what when, but I think that they did come up with a great system for continuing it even after the block party. And last year when they announced the GIF, they were suggesting it was going to be the last one because the block party was ending and they're not going to have the mega event to host it at. Well, this is better in my opinion because you can have all of these get together. It was a great chance to sit down with geocachers, and you sit down, you chat about the videos after you watch them, and that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I was very doubtful after they were saying, I don't know, this is the last one. I think this is a fantastic idea, and I agree with you. It's a great chance to get together with other geocachers and see these things. And last year, I think a lot of people had fun doing it.
Oh yeah, it was as a lot of people have said, it's a great chance to sit down and have popcorn with your geocaching buddies.
Yes.
But I was looking at those prizes thinking, there's no way that the amount of effort that it goes into is worth the prizes. You figure it's about $150 if you win first place.
Mm-hmm.
How many hours is it going to take you to produce that 4-minute video?
It's a labor of love.
It's a labor
of love.
Fun.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
For fun.
It's for fun.
But there's some bragging rights. I got a 5-year membership. Oh, by the way, did I tell you I just won last year's GIFF?
Oh, I just won the GIF award. Actually, they're calling it the Signal Award, I think. But
I
yes.
the Academy.
For anyone who does want to check out the previous videos, they do have the 2013 through 2015 videos available under the inspiration option from About, but the complete 2015 GIF reel is also available on YouTube. So we'll have links to both of those in the show notes so that you can check them out. But there are a lot of people who didn't get out to see the GIF events and were looking to check out that reel to see all those videos.
You know, all the videos were well done last year, and being able to put them in one single reel up on YouTube, I thought was a really nice gesture to go back and watch. It's like, oh, that one, the one about the dog, that was fun. How did they do that again?
Yeah, but you know, you're not going to be spending big money to put one of these things together. You know, some of those had lesser production quality, but the stories were great, and some had a little bit better production value, and you know, not quite necessarily so much story. So you can win with anything. Get into the finalists at least with anything. Just have a good story, and that is kind of their theme this year. Is this whole story thing, because they're looking for telling geocaching stories through the GIF.
Exactly.
Which I think is a neat idea to kind of focus it a little bit. And I do want to say, being here in Orlando, Florida, I happen to live very close to Full Sail University, which does a lot of movie making. I have a lot at my disposal. It might be poorly written, people, but it'll be the best technical thing you've ever seen in your life.
Are we talking like Battleship, the movie Battleship quality?
There you go.
Excellent
I think
quality,
that's
terrible story.
Great analogy. And I'm going to be the Liam Neeson of that.
Of GIF videos. Or
There
GIF,
you go.
GIF videos.
Story-worthy moments, I think, is the actual slogan they're using.
Yeah, but if you got special effects, it doesn't matter.
Yes, special effects trump story.
Exactly.
If I throw in an Autobot, it's over, guys. It's done. You will. There's no story needed whatsoever. Transformers come in, done.
Wait. What is your last name? Is it Bay? Are you Michael Bay?
That's his alter ego.
He's sitting over in the corner. Keep talking. Keep talking.
I got this one.
It's a great idea.
Put some
Keep
lights
going with it.
and some explosions.
All right. Well, we always have a live question on these randomized shows, so anyone who's watching live can get a prize. And this week we're going to go for this cool UV light from GX Proxy. So if you want a chance to win that, what you have to do is email us at geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com with the title Randomize 44, and in the body of that, put your geocaching.com screen name and tell us when will the GIF, whatever you want to call it, 2016 events be held. So the answer's on screen. We just talked about it. And for anyone at home who's going, oh, I got to put that on the calendar, it's November 3rd through 7th. So have that emailed to us by 9:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 6:45 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time on March 24th. So you got to be watching live because we're going to be wrapping up the show and announcing it. And if you're looking for that time in UTC, that's actually 1:45 a.m. on March 24th. So if you're up watching us in the UK or something, why?
Or good for you.
I don't know that I want to encourage that kind of behavior.
We're the cure for insomnia.
It is a school night, after all.
Wait, that's not right.
There you go. You heard it. GeoGearHeads ruining kids' education over in the UK.
All around the world.
All over the world.
Yeah. Well, they might be going out geocaching, so maybe it's a good education.
They could be doing night caching while they're listening to us.
Ooh, there you go. Night caching on a school night. Hunting for owls. Doing some research.
Snipe hunting.
Ah, yeah, there you go.
Oy, oy, oy.
Well, we mentioned we're affecting people all over the world, but so is the satellite navigation systems. Now, we have talked about this on previous randomized shows, but, I love the technical side of geocaching. So we've got just a pile of satellite navigation stories. Some that we tried to fit into the last randomized show, they didn't fit. So here's a bunch of satellite navigation news. First, from GPS World, Galileo 9 and 10 are now broadcasting navigation messages. The two satellites were launched September 11th, 2015, and they've gone through their testing, and they're up and running. So, yeah, they went through their testing December 17th, 2015, so they're up and running. Now, Galileo satellites 13 and 14 have completed their pre-flight testing. They're in the Netherlands, and they're being put into storage ahead of their launch. So, look for those in the near future. Did you know the complete Galileo constellation will be made up of 24 satellites across 3 orbital planes with 2 active spare satellites per orbital plane, ready to plug any gap should one of those satellites malfunction. We've got a link in the show notes if you want to check the current overall status of the Galileo constellation.
Yeah, and there's also another story that was talking about those next 2 satellites that passed their pre-flight testing, and they're actually scheduled for launch in May. So once again, they're going to be on a Soyuz rocket, and let's see, there's only been 12 so far. This is going to be
13, 14.
Yeah, 14. So they're oh, interesting. Following this first Ariane 5 flight, there should actually be 18 Galileo satellites in orbit. So I'm not sure where those extra 4 satellites are coming.
Do they have the active spares already in place on some of the planes?
I'm wondering if it's that or if they were test units or sync or something like that. Because there was actually, I think, something kind of weird about the way the Galileo system was working. So they might actually be like communications coordination or something. I don't know.
Who knows?
But yeah, it's really nice to see that the Galileo system is coming this much closer to actually being usable.
Yes, exactly.
Because this is going to give us not only better navigation with our handheld units, and most of the new handheld, or not handheld, but the smartphones are actually supporting the Galileo system. They may not be using it right now, but the chipsets are supporting it now. So anything that's coming out new, you're likely to have it. The GPSRs don't seem to have it in the handheld versions yet. But again, they may actually have the support, but just not enabled since they're not transmitting usable data yet. So that's why this is so cool, is, you know, you've got
exactly
a newer, better version, and Galileo is going to be doing some other really cool stuff with like 2-way navigation for rescue. You know, people keep going, oh, well, you know, that Malaysia flight that got lost never would have gotten lost because we would have known right where it was because it has a 2-way communication.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, there's still news this week that they found another piece of the flight, and I'm thinking, how do you lose an entire airplane in this day and age?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that everybody continues to ask is how is that possible? It's one of those mysteries, and as those pieces keep kind of coming up, you're like, what exactly still happened? Nobody knows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's one of those situations we may never know. It could be one of those Amelia Earhart kind of situations.
Yeah.
So, you know, it'd be nice to have this kind of system. You know, and there are systems already in place that will do it. But this system, the Galileo system, was specifically designed around global travel and, you know, commerce and stuff. So I'm very interested to see what actually comes of that and how that works. I've yet to see a good explanation of what's happening and how that works on the commercial side, because it is a commercial, or it is a paid service to get the 2-way stuff through Galileo.
Very true. Well, we talked about the European side of the equation. Let's look at the U.S. side. Again, GPS World says the final GPS 2F satellite joins the constellation. Now, if you don't know, the 50th Space Wing, located out of Schriever Air Force Base in Colorado, controls the GPS system, the 2F system. for the GPS directorate, basically for the U.S. And so the last one was launched, and of course they held a little celebration. So it's interesting. So this one is officially finished. This constellation is officially finished. They will launch one or two more as auxiliary support, those active spares as we talked about in the Galileo system. Because some of the oldest satellites are, from the 90s. They're starting to...
Well, no, these
have
go
problems.
back to the 60s.
Oh, they go back to the 60s.
Right, but the ones that are being replaced now are the ones from the 90s, and you think about it, it's just insane to think that satellites from the 60s would still be running, but apparently they still have a couple of those that are still up there, just not actually like helping the system out because they're not providing good information. But it's kind of scary to think that you have to spend all of this money on something that launches in the 90s, and you're only getting like 26 years of use, but at the same time, you're getting 26 years of use out of a space vehicle.
That's more than you're getting from your smartphone.
Yeah, your smartphone only lasts a couple of years, but it's only costs a few $100s.
Right. And if you compare it to any other piece of electronics, something launched in the 90s, or it doesn't matter if it's a computer, smartphone, well, not a smartphone, but anything else, they're not going to last that long. So these things were built to last, and they're hanging up there.
Well, the thing that I found really interesting too about this article is it actually tells you what these vehicle numbers are, because they're the GPS 2F12, which is the designation for the actual model of the satellite, but it's space vehicle number 70.
Right.
Wow.
That means there's like 70 of these GPS satellites that have been in the system. That's not how many are active.
Right.
There's all of those satellites up there.
Well, and Daryl, that feeds perfectly into the next article. Again, talking with the Shriver Air Force Base, they are actually going to take 2 of their satellites out of service.
Yeah, so those 2 that got replaced by these new 2Fs, they're going to be decommissioned, and they actually dispose of them.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, satellite vehicle numbers 37 and 40. Okay, so SVN 37 and 40. They just launched 70. So 40 was launched in 96, and 37 was launched in 93. Currently, 40 has their reaction wheels, which stabilize the satellite, are ineffective, and 37 has an unmovable solar array, so it doesn't generate enough power.
That sounds like good reasons. Well, yeah, and you can't get up to service these things.
Not anymore. Not since the space shuttle went down.
No, well, I don't think they ever serviced GPS system from the shuttles.
What did they service? I know they took satellites, brought them into the bay, worked on them, and released them.
Yeah, those were research satellites for the most part. And I think there were a couple of communication satellites. But the GPS satellites I don't think are really built that you could do much work. And I'm not sure... Yeah, I'm sure you could do some work on it, but I'm not sure how much would really be viable. And you run into a lot of other satellites in that range, so I think they'd be a little afraid of collisions while they were trying to work on the satellites, too.
Kind of like Space Frogger there.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you just... And I got to imagine that the cost... benefit ratio was just way off to have to. Right. They probably never, as you said, Daryl, they probably never made those satellites to have removable and parts that you could just swap out. They probably said, you know what, when it goes, it goes. Although I find what's interesting later in the story here of how they dispose of them kind of interesting.
So how do they dispose of them, since you're into that already?
So to reduce the risk to the GPS constellation from underperforming satellites and to make room for satellites with increased capabilities, older satellites are moved into a disposal orbit at the end of the life. GPS satellites do not carry enough fuel to deorbit maneuvers and are instead relocated into a disposal orbit roughly 1,000 kilometers. So what's that, about 600 miles?
Sure.
Let's call it that.
18,000 miles, we don't know.
It's a far, far, far away thing. 1,000 kilometers above the operational GPS orbit. The disposed vehicles will most likely never re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. So you can just imagine now you've got even more, really, space junk going around. And as we continue to move forward with, the space race in the sense of whether going to the moon or to Mars or just, whatever, I'm like, really? Short-term solution here is what this is, because eventually they're going to have to do something with it.
I would think they would bring it down, let it, let the orbit degenerate until it hits, Earth's atmosphere and burns up. They're not, we're not talking a huge vehicle here.
Well, the trouble is, they said in here that they don't have the fuel to do maneuvers. So what they're doing is they're using...
Aren't they doing a maneuver to move them 1,000 kilometers out?
Well, I think all they have is the fuel to do the correction moves.
Okay.
So what they're doing is they're just pushing into a higher orbit. If they were to try to push it into a lower orbit, they don't have control to maneuver it around, and they might hit other satellites.
Right.
By pushing it up into this other higher orbit, I think that they're assuming it's going to be safe. But if it does start to, decay, then I can see these things taking out other GPS satellites.
Oh, yeah. But see, if you move them up into a higher orbit, then they just become defense against other alien ships entering our system because, we've got these dead satellites spinning around there to
see,
hit
and I thought they just acted as the protective layer from the even higher satellites coming back and destroying the GPS satellites.
Oh, yeah.
If they did that, I'm pretty sure 2 years from now we would hear about Space Vehicle 70 destroyed. Do you remember that episode way back when?
But yeah, that would, I don't know how they keep track of all the satellites up there, and you've got so many international parties involved that it's got to be insane. But they're at so many different altitudes. We talked probably about a year ago now that 2 of the Galileo satellites launched, and due to failures of the Soyuz rockets, didn't make it up to their full orbit. So they're actually, what was it, like 800 meters off of where they're supposed to be? No, I think it was more than that.
Yeah, they didn't achieve their orbit that they needed to. So I think they were just basically rendered useless.
No, they are actually using those.
Oh, are they?
Okay. To program them to use it, which the Galileo system can do. The 2Fs and earlier are not quite so flexible. They actually have like hard-coded stuff. But one of the things that came out is the GPS 3 navigation payload is going to be all digital. So Harris Corporation is actually going to handle that. They're going to offer this all-digital navigation payload for the GPS 3 space vehicles. And that's going to be SV11 and beyond, which I'm not sure why we're going to 11. If I miss something there, are we starting over?
It sounds like the first 10 are using a different computer. I mean, basically, the Harris Corporation is offering the all-digital payload, basically the computer, the electronics.
Well, there's not been. I assume the SV meant space vehicle again, like Space Vehicle 70, but I don't really know. I don't think they've told us. But it is going to be a fully digital navigation payload that's going to improve performance and allow for on-orbit reprogramming. So you can do a lot more correction and whatnot in flight, which you can't do right now. And it gives them 70% more than the current system, if I'm correct.
No, the current payload is 70% digital. So the new payloads will be 100% digital.
Right, okay, there we go.
So GPS 3, 1 through 8, are 70% digital. GPS...
here we go. Yeah, so the GPS 3 space vehicle, or SV 1 through 8, are going to be the 70% digital. And then the 11 and beyond are going to be 100% digital.
Right.
Now I understand.
So
But we still haven't figured out what happened to 9 and 10. We're still missing 9 and 10 somewhere.
Yeah, 9 and 10 may not actually be actual launch vehicles. They could be test vehicles.
Oh.
Who knows?
So, I'm not sure, but none of these satellites have launched.
They could be going to take out, 40 and 37. We don't know that.
Yeah, 9 and 10 are the destroyers.
It's like a game of pool in space. Let's just send that one up.
Well, I thought it was battle. I thought they were the battleships. Take out the other satellite. Anyway, so it's going to allow for greater flexibility, and they're saying it's going to be more affordable and improved accuracy compared to the existing ones, which, I don't think that's too surprising that the 3s are going to be better than the 2s were for accuracy. But they're going to also have a modular design and atomic clock timing systems, and of course, it's radiation-hardened computers. Because you can't have anything in space that's not hardened against radiation.
Yeah, that's amazing to me when you think about what they have to do to send something up into space.
Yeah, but the Harris apparently has more than 500 digital processors on orbit, and another 150 waiting to launch. So these are the actual computers in these satellites, as I understand. So it's pretty impressive, and they have 80 plus of the U.S. GPS satellite systems have these Harris produced chips in them.
You sure this isn't Skynet we're talking about?
No, not quite. It's coming up next.
Oh, that's the story further down.
Yeah, it's further down.
Got it. All right.
So, another GPS World article says Northrop Grumman awarded contract for GPS modernization. It doesn't use the word Skynet, but we know it is.
Read between the lines. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So they have been awarded in order to support embedded GPS inertial navigation systems in modernization efforts. So cost plus fixed fee value order at $4.8 million from the Joint Services Management System. Northrop Grumman will evaluate new GPS receivers, modes of performance, including M-code and selective availability anti-spoofing module. That's the SAASM.
Which is actually really important for the military.
It really is. So, I don't know. Is this going to be GPS 4?
No, this is tying in with the GPS 3, if I understand it. But essentially, what they're continuing to enhance the existing system, and they're still needing to keep compatibility with the old stuff. And that, to me, just is insane. Can you imagine trying to keep, like a Rainbow 100 computer running in, 20 years from now?
Yeah.
And it's not quite that bad, but it isn't too far off because this stuff goes back into the. I think the military was using the first satellites the first handheld receivers in wide use in the late 70s or something.
That sounds about right.
So a lot of those aren't going to work anymore. Period, because they're not able to update their almanacs, and that became very important because you have to be able to download the information about what satellites are where and doing what. So if you don't have the units that can handle updating an almanac that tells them what the satellites are, they're just not going to work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But aside from that, they've been keeping all of these older units functional. Yeah, it's nice to have that because why do you want to replace that GPS in your car, for instance? It's not really viable.
No.
Or worse yet, replace the one on your battleship.
Exactly.
Yeah. But they have to keep that going for quite a long time.
Exactly. You got to make them. You got to put the new stuff up there. It's still going to talk to the old stuff, and vice versa. So.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. It's a challenge because so much relies on GPS now.
Sure. Well, and a lot of it is just even for the timing.
Mm-hmm.
They're using the GPS signal as the atomic clock that keeps everything in sync around the world. So if you lose that sync, as we did, back in the 90s?
No, well, there was an error on one satellite just a couple of weeks ago. I want to say it was 40 seconds off.
Yeah, it was something like that, and it threw people off by hundreds of feet.
Exactly.
That was like quarter-mile-ish, I think, error rates.
And do you think that could be the reason for the next story?
No, this has nothing to do with that, because this is coming to us from Engadget, and it's all about the accuracy of the data from like the user side. This is a Google Maps error that actually caused the wrong house to be torn down.
Ouch.
So what actually happened here is a house was damaged by a tornado, and the demolition company hired to remove that home used Google Maps, and the home that was supposed to be torn down was 7601 Calypso Drive. But on Google Maps, it says that home is also at 7601 Cousteau Drive, which is only a block apart.
Man.
So this crew shows up, doesn't pay attention to the street address apparently, but it is a 1701, so you know the address on the home is right, but they didn't pay attention to what street they were on, and just tore down the home.
I heard about this. I mean, the lady went off to work, came back home, and her house was gone. I mean, it was that quick.
Yeah, well, and she had apparently, this is a Lindsay Diaz, she had apparently applied for a builder's permit to repair her home and rebuild it.
That was damaged by a tornado.
Correct. Well, they're only a block apart, so, you know, big surprise. But she actually got a call from her neighbor about what happened. So this is the Billy L. Neighbors Demolition Company that actually did it. And apparently an employee sent her a screenshot showing what Google Maps had displayed to them. But the company has not apologized for the mistake. So it's like, really?
Don't worry. They will pay.
It's like, I'm just thinking, you know, of course they're not going to admit the mistake. They're going to blame Google, because if they're actually blamed for the mistake, how much, you know, the company's probably dead, like instantly.
Yeah.
I think Billy Neighbors is going to be looking for lawn care business.
Well, I'm just thinking, really, you're going to go with the Google made me do it defense?
See, I would love to do that with some of the tall trees around here that obscure my view. Could I just send the tree service to the wrong address and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, was that your tree that came down?"
But it is insane that that these people are just that. I don't want to say dependent, because that's not right. Just you can't trust anything that much. Yeah, and there's nothing I would trust that much that I would just say, yeah, okay, it did it. Let's go destroy this home. You know.
Mm-hmm. You know, if many homes are down, well, the address is gonna. I mean, it may be hard to tell which house on the street that is. However, ends in an 01, so that's the first house on the block.
Well, yeah, 7601 in both cases, which
Right.
is kind of weird. But you know, you just triggered something in my head. What if there are no street signs up?
Well,
Oh, right. Because
If the street signs came down, they might not have had good information on site. They might not have had that ground truth.
yeah, that could
that's
be
a good point.
So if that's the
then
case,
it's the city's fault.
Kind of.
They can get back there and get those signs back up.
Yeah. Well, you know, how are they supposed to validate? Short of like
it's a block
surveys?
away. What happens if the street sign for Calypso blew a block over to
Cousteau.
Cousteau?
Yeah. So yeah, now that I'm actually thinking about it, this might not be quite the story that it appears to be.
And it's funny that it's Cousteau, like, Chief Inspector Jacques Clouseau.
That was
It's
Cousteau.
Clouseau. Maybe it is Clouseau Avenue.
Cousteau is the diver guy,
Yeah, Jacques Cousteau.
Do you suppose they send Steve Harvey over there and goes, "We got the wrong house"? It was supposed to be 7601 Calypso. I read this, but I got the wrong one. I apologize.
He can do it. He's got it going right now.
He's got
He
Teflon
does.
on him. Nothing's sticking to him, so that'd be the best apology ever.
There you go.
Somehow I don't think that's going to be enough. Someone's paying for a new home for this woman.
Yeah. And I think the first name begins with Billy, probably.
Oh, probably their insurance company.
Yeah.
I'm sure Billy is not going to have
A company afterwards, don't get me wrong.
Right.
The company is gone.
And
Company, what
dropped
company?
the insurance company.
Nobody will pick up Billy again. Sorry, Billy.
Which might not be a bad thing, I guess. I don't know.
You know, I feel sorry for the lady. Don't get me wrong, and you know, it's a story that's easy to be flippant and make fun of, but you know, this woman has just lost her house.
Oh yeah, well, and this right after it's been damaged by a tornado.
Exactly. She survived, or her house survived the tornado, and it gets
Not unscathed.
No, not unscathed,
damaged.
but it survived.
Right.
And then to be torn down on accident. So I'm sorry.
And you know, I could just
It's somewhat funny.
You know, the call to the insurance company. Yeah, you know that claim I had filed? We're going to have to change it.
Why is that?
Yeah, this company called Billy Neighbors came over and, you know, just took my house away. And everything in it.
See, that's
she might have a real sense of humor and just have, you know, she might have just said, you know what? I got to laugh at this. I got nothing else at this point. I got to laugh at this. Probably not, but yeah.
I hope she did, because, you know, it is awful. There's, you know, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
My house is gone. Bye-bye.
Speaking of that, I think it's about time to wrap up this episode. Okay. We are going to have a bonus show, of course, for the patrons. So if you are a patron watching live, you can tune in a little bit, and we'll tune in. Really? Okay, but you can join us a little bit for that one.
Come check it out
on the feed. Yeah. But of course, before we go, we do have to announce who's going to win this very cool UV flashlight from gxproxy.com. And I already made that random selection from the emails that we received. That's going to be Loon Trackers. Loon Trackers.
Loon Trackers. Is that like the Where's George of Canada?
It could be.
Because the dollar coin up there is called the Looney.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say maybe that would be the Looney Trackers.
Well, you got to shorten it, right?
I think Loonies would go. How about the Toonie Trackers?
Ooh.
I like that one better. Okay, so someone up that way has to come up with the Toonie Trackers and send us the link. We want to know.
Well, I think you have to get the $5 bill, $5 increment before it's a bill.
Well, the Toonies, yeah, the Loonies and Toonies are the coins.
Right.
And they don't have the serial numbers, do they?
No, I don't think they do. It would be
so that's not going to work.
That smell like maple syrup. Didn't you know that? Canadian money smells like maple syrup.
That's why everybody wants to move to Canada, just for the maple syrup smell.
Yeah.
And I thought it was for the free healthcare. But in any case, Loon Trackers, congratulations. I think this is the first time I've seen that name in our contest, so thanks for joining in, and hopefully you'll do that again. But email us with your mailing address so that we can get that out in the mail to you.
Now, we're not done giving things away. We love giving things away. But we're going to change it up a little this week, and we're going to be giving away a trackable state flag tag from coinsandpins.com each week through the end of April to one iTunes or Stitcher reviewer. So submit your honest review, and really, be honest. Of course we're looking for good reviews, but, you know, be honest in what you say. You know, well, I'm not going to tell you what to do. 5-star review. We hope we've earned the 5-star review to either iTunes or Stitcher, and take a look at any of the reviews on either service within the last year, and we're going to pick one of those at random. So if you have a review on iTunes or Stitchers, you'll double your chances. And we'll call out the name of that iTunes or Stitcher reviewer, and then that person will have 4 weeks to contact us. It's that easy. Submit a review of the GeoGearHeads show on iTunes or Stitcher by the end of April 2016, and you have a chance to win one of those cool state flag tags from coinsandpins.com, which are trackable at geocaching.com.
Yeah, those are very cool tags. Before we wrap up this show, though, I do want to thank you again, Michael, for joining us. And where can people find your show if they haven't already checked it out?
Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for inviting me back after canceling last time. I appreciate it. Those guys have me back. You can find me over at cacheandrelease.com/live. We do a show every Sunday night at 8 p.m. And if we don't know what we're talking about, we'll certainly entertain you at the end of the show.
Yeah, last time, just work got in the way, just like it does with the geocaching. So I think it's very simple. All geocachers need to quit work.
Yeah, I'm firmly convinced of that.
Yeah, so I think that's the solution. We just all need to stop working and just go geocaching and podcasting.
And we can
periscoping.
continue to
Periscoping.
We can continue to win prizes from GeoGearHeads to support us as we're, not employed any longer. And
I don't think that's going to work at all.
It's a grand idea, but
bummer.
Maybe I'll win the lottery.
Working for Loon Tracker.
Hey, hopefully you'll at least get the GIF award.
Yeah, there you go. 5 years. 5 years.
5 years that you don't have to pay for your geocaching.com premium membership.
There you go.
Let's go over our list of shows that are coming up. Our last show for March next week is going to be on law enforcement agencies with Rock Chalk. Then the following week, April 7th, we're going to be talking about the geocaching app with Nate Irish. That's going to be really cool because he's actually the project manager, so we're going to get some good information from him about the app and what's coming up, I'm sure. Then we're going to have another developer on for the 14th. That's going to be Magnus of project-gc.com. He's going to be coming on to talk with us about all kinds of new stuff that's happening over there. And on the 21st, we have another boating show. This one's going to be really cool. We have one of our listeners that actually took a multi-day kayaking trip, and he's going to be talking all about that with us. Then on the 28th, for Randomize 226, these numbers are getting up there, 226, we're going to have our Randomize 45 show. So we went a little bit out there so that you can know when the next Randomize show is, because remember, guys, you can always leave us information about the Randomize shows. Give us story ideas, stuff that you want us to talk about. Send that stuff in anytime to geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com. However, don't call us anymore on that 206 number that we've been giving out, because guess what? K7 is shutting down.
No!
To do that for us. So that's only going to work for another couple of weeks, so we're not going to be giving you that number anymore. You can still call it for those next couple of weeks, but we got to find some other service to do our voicemail in the future.
Ugh.
That's a shame. Well, we'll give you Daryl's direct cell phone number.
I don't think that would work very well because, I tend to answer the phone, which means it doesn't get recorded very much.
Bummer.
But you do get to talk to Daryl live.
Yeah. If you have a question, call Daryl. No. What we want you to do is check the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes from this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so send us feedback by email or leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniac shows coming, so please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniac shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. This show is copyright 2016 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.
Cash with the Cachemaniacs.